Hi, everyone. It's Brian Cornelius, the treasurer of the Eastern Ontario Outaouais Regional Council, and I'm delighted to share with you the financial report for this particular annual meeting. Won't take long because most of the information has been given to you, but I'll just draw your attention to a few important things, and I'll do that in 3 steps. First of all, one of the motions that we need to pass today is the formal acceptance of our reviewed financial statements. They were circulated with you. You did see this report last February when we met, and I was able to give you a good indication as to the fact that through this first year of existence as a regional council, we did end up with a surplus of just a little less than $100,000, about $70,000 in governance and a little more than $25,000 in mission and ministry. This was somewhat anticipated because we were coming into our life as a council and still learning exactly where we would be spending our money, and we didn't have all of our programming running right from the very beginning of the year. So it also has then provided us a little bit of a cushion and some reserve funds as we continue to go forward. So again, there's nothing, I'll take any questions on the 2019 statements. You'll see that you have all the details of how all the funds are operated, where all of our resources came for our investment funds, and it's all detailed. And those will continue to be in the financial records so that we have a history of our transfer from the life of Presbyteries and Conference into the life of the Regional Council. The only thing I would add about the assessments is that we did finally receive all of our the money from the Bay of Quinte Conference, and so in 2020 we've received an additional $73,000 than what is included in last year's report, but that did not come in until 2020. Also just want to highlight that we have an internal review process, and you'll see the names of the individuals who were involved in that. And so there'll be 2 motions, both to formally adopt our financial statements as well as to ask the executive to appoint an internal independent review committee again. So again, I'll take any questions about the 2019 financial statements. The second thing is to talk about the 2020 year and how we are to date. Obviously, we're living through the season of COVID-19, which has radically changed how we operate. As a result, we're presently again have a rather large surplus, primarily because many of the activities like this particular meeting, we're just not expending the dollars on them. And so a lot of our program dollars are not being spent, whereas our staff dollars and some of the supports for staff like offices and so forth continue to be expenses. Because we have a guaranteed income, because there's a grant, most of our income is from grants, that's guaranteed, and so therefore we're not having an income crunch this year. Whether the United Church may have to have conversations about how different parts of the church have survived through COVID-19, and we'll find that out at the end of the year when we really see what the results of the Mission and Service Fund are for 2020. There may be some adjustments. As far as supporting congregations within our communities of faith within our regional council, we have provided 5 interest-free loans of $10,000 each. These are interest-free loans, they are not grants, that was to help particular congregations that were actually facing cash flow crunch. And so that was either they had to get some investments over or they were having to figure out how they were moving forward. And so one of the congregations has already paid back their $10,000, but we wanted you to know that if any of your communities of faith were facing a cash flow crunch, the regional council is willing to facilitate and help people get through maybe a couple of months or a little while where interest-free loan would be helpful. The other thing that I'd also draw to your attention is that if you go on the website, you can now find a financial resources page, which outlines where you can apply for grants and what the criterion would be for those grants. Again, because program has somewhat been curtailed in this year, Our granting has been less because it's been difficult for people to do programming. So our mission strategy grants or our vision and transformation grants, as well as our youth grants, are undersubscribed this year. That's not surprising, but I wanted you to know that as you're imagining moving forward, that those grants exist. So there's lots of information there. Again, all the details are there for 2020. If you have any particular questions, I would be happy to respond to them. I will note that our investments we're actually up. We've actually made some money so far this year. As you know, markets are very volatile, but our council is actually not exclusively in the stock market in our investments, but we have half of our investments in what are called income investments. And so that mitigates against the risk. There's no real action we need to take on 2020 other than if you had any questions, I'm going to be happy to answer them. The other piece, the third thing that we have to look at is our proposed 2021 budget. And that was also sent out to you and is outlined to you. I will note that if you look at the youth ministry program, I realized that there was a little difficulty in the report that was sent out to you, which resulted in a $2,000 mistake. It was not a mistake, it's just I didn't update an addition. And so the total amount set aside for youth in the budget is $14,000. That's the only specific I'll draw to your attention. I'll come back to the big picture. You will see that we are proposing a budget for your approval. What we do know is that beginning in 2021, there will be a 17% decrease in mission and service in the Mission and Service Fund grant. That was determined by the Executive of General Counsel. And so this budget reflects that 17% decrease. The Finance Committee is presenting to you a deficit budget. It's about 3.5%. So in fact, when you start getting that low of a percent of a deficit, it's pretty close to a balanced budget. We feel it's the right course of action right now to present this deficit budget because of the surpluses we will have in 2019 and 2020. And because we've made a determination that we want to be able to maintain mission support to our mission support grants to those ministries within our council. So we did not want to reduce their grants, especially in the time of COVID-19, and many of these organizations are needing to maintain as much funding as they are able. So we have not reduced that, and we're quite comfortable with this deficit budget. In fact, if history proves anything, and because COVID-19 is not going to be over on by December 31st, 2020, we'll probably be saving some costs in the first quarter to half of 2021. And there may, in fact, be ongoing cost savings because we've learned to work differently and have learned to like working differently. So we're very comfortable with this deficit budget. So once again, I'll receive any questions around that, but we are looking for you to approve this budget. And the approval there is a proviso that we always use 4% of the total value of our investment funds as of December 31st, 2020 for our 2021 budget. So when we get those final figures, then we adjust the investment amounts accordingly. At this point, I don't expect there'll be a radical change. It's always possible, but we do present this proposal with that proviso. So that's everything I need to say in this report, and I'll let the chair of our meeting process the motions that need to be passed. Thanks again. It is a delight to be your treasurer. It's a delight to work with the Finance Committee, which have been very diligent and meeting regularly through this year. And so I'm very grateful, and their names are included in our report. And we're very grateful for all of the work that they do. So thank you very much. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.